Is a 10-year healthcare deal with tens of billions of dollars in new spending.
Let's give Canadians the healthcare that they expect and that they deserve.
Where would healthcare workers like to see the money go, and why the country's premiers are calling Trudeau's plan disappointing. Plus,
these people deserve to be living in homes.
Dozens choosing to sleep outside or in their cars tonight to highlight the problem of homelessness in the city and to raise funds to combat it. And
there is a lot of friends we don't know about them.
As the search for quake survivors continues in Turkey and Syria, anxious loved ones in the GTA wait, hoping for some good news, while local aid organizations continue to mobilize. Good evening, I'm Kelda Yoon. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau is pledging nearly $200 billion to fund and reform Canada's healthcare system. Now, the Prime Minister revealed the details at a meeting with the country's 13 premiers today. Now, that money will be spread over 10 years. About a quarter of it is new funding, which the premiers think is too low.
There wasn't a lot in the way of new funding. That is a part of this package that has been put together by the federal government. And so, I think to say the least, I think we were a little disappointed at that.
The money will be distributed nationwide through the federal government's Canada Health Transfer, and there will also be separate agreements with each province and territory to meet their specific needs. In order to get the money, Ottawa is asking for a commitment to improve how health information is collected, shared, and used and reported to Canadians. Now, it's all in an effort to promote greater transparency on results and to help manage public health emergencies. So where would the people who work in healthcare like the money to go? Lorena Redekop is looking into that part of the story.
So we just sort of got a little taste of what might be out there. And, overall, we're thrilled that there's more money for mental health.
The CEO of the Canadian Mental Health Association was part of meetings this morning, learning in advance that more funding is coming for mental health, though no exact details. Many have pointed to an increase in mental health issues during the pandemic. Given what she sees, she wants more community mental health supports, not just in-hospital help.
Long waiting lists for access to eating disorders programs for young people. Substance use is up, and it has not gone down since the pandemic.
Long-term care is another area where issues were highlighted during the pandemic due to large outbreaks resulting in deaths of many residents and staff shortages. The federal government is also proposing more money to increase the salaries of personal support workers. Premier Ford says he has some questions and concerns.
On the existing deals that we have after 4 years, where does it go? Home care. Who's going to take care of the costs of the escalation of PSW salaries and other costs that increase?
The federal funding will be contingent on the provinces chipping in some money, and they must agree to uphold the Canada Health Act, designed to ensure access to health care is based on need and not an ability to pay. Right now, Ontario is in the midst of moving more procedures to private, for-profit clinics, though the province insists it won't mean pulling out your credit card. Here's what the opposition at Queen's Park wants the federal government to tie the money to.
It should be enveloped and strategically invested in publicly funded, publicly delivered healthcare. It should be focused on the mental health and the opioid crisis.
Premier Ford says the issue of putting the money only into the public system never came up in the discussions. He says the federal offer is a starting point with more discussions to come. Lorena Redekop, CBC News, Toronto.
One person was rushed to hospital with life-threatening injuries after a stabbing at the Ajax GO station this afternoon. Durham police received a call for an assault just before 2:30. A man was rushed to a Toronto trauma center by paramedics. Police have not made any arrests and they haven't released any suspect information. Metrolinx says it is cooperating with police on the investigation and that the station remains open for customers. The victim of the attack is now in stable condition. And Durham police have identified the victims in a double homicide over the weekend in Bowmanville. 2 people were found dead inside a home on Saturday afternoon after police responded to a call for a well-being check. A 28-year-old man, Aram Kamal, and a 26-year-old woman, Rafad Al-Zubaidi, were found with obvious signs of trauma. Police said today that Al-Zubaidi was pregnant. No suspect information has been released, but police say this appears to be an isolated incident and there is no risk to public safety. 2 of the teen girls charged with second-degree murder in connection with a swarming attack on a homeless man in Toronto have been denied bail. Now, the judge releasing her decision this afternoon. Both of the girls had bail hearings last month. 4 more girls who are facing charges in the case have been released on bail. The remaining 2 youths who have yet to have a bail decision are set to appear in court later this week. 59-year-old Ken Lee died in hospital after he was allegedly beaten and stabbed by a group of girls. It happened in the early morning hours of December 18th, not far from the downtown shelter where Lee was staying. A total of 8 girls ranging in age from 13 to 16 have been charged in connection with this case. In cities across the country tonight, people are volunteering to sleep rough in tents set up outside or in their own cars. Now, it's all in an effort to highlight the issue of homelessness and to raise money to help end it. Dale Monektuk joins us live in Etobicoke. Dale, this was all organized by Raising the Roof.
And where most of the people have turned in for the night, but there are still a few kicking around this parking lot. You can see there's a group there set up outside a tent. I'll take you around this Humbertown Shopping Center Plaza parking lot where they have things set up. They have some hot beverages over there, some food, bagels and fruit over here. Now, this event is happening in 7 locations across the country, including Winnipeg, Edmonton, PEI, and Newfoundland, and of course, right here in Toronto, where over 9,000 people access the shelter system every single night. Now, I'll show you some of the accommodations that people have. We can't really look into too many cars because there are people sleeping. Some of them have their windows blacked out with whatever kinds of makeshift curtains they have. But over here we have a group of Unifor guys. There's 4 of them in here. They got a heater going in there as well. Hey guys. Hello, hi. And here there's another person is decided to sleep in the back seat. They got a sleeping bag, some pillows as well, but it's obviously going to be an uncomfortable night, but not like what people experience on the streets.
I got the sleeping bag. Gonna lay her out across the back.
From SUV trunks set up for 2 to tents for 1 and larger accommodations, Raising the Roof is doing its fundraising a little different this year, sleeping outside to raise awareness and help prevent and end homelessness.
The thing is here, this is something that people volunteered to do, and they had time to set up and prep and take everything from their house to make them comfortable for one night. It doesn't even happen to be a cold night.
There's security, toilets, food, and hot beverages.
So we're well taken care of here, and we're in a very comfortable, friendly environment. There's music playing. You know, so to say that this is what it's really like is a far reach.
From underground parking lots in Winnipeg to this Etobicoke Plaza, those participating say there needs to be an immediate action on the homelessness crisis.
Friday night when it was like that really cold snap, I can't remember, like minus 31 kind of temperature, and that's all I think about is like there's people out there, you know, on benches and wrapped into whatever they can, and you know, we got to find solutions to these problems.
The event hopes to shine a light not just on those sleeping in the streets, but also hidden homelessness, such as people sleeping on couches, cars, and other precarious situations.
We were going to sleep in the front of the car, but he said, no, you have to cuddle in the back of the car. And
this woman's husband set her and her daughter up for the night.
You know, we're fortunate enough, live in Toronto, have a roof over our heads, don't need to sleep on the streets, and I think it's really important to give back.
Even in just a short amount of time, the experience is making an impact.
I've been out here about an hour. Today's not a bad day. Last week was, you know, freezing cold, frigid. I'm going to think twice. You know, to me, it's not just going to be another homeless person. To me, that's a human being.
And Kelda, this event has already raised over $130,000, with most of those funds primarily going towards building affordable housing. But that's not where Raising the Roof's effort stops. To help build a more sustainable future for those experiencing homelessness, the organization trains those clients during renovations in construction to hopefully get them on their way to a career and a more sustainable future. And if people can't donate to this one-night fund, they can also purchase the toques that they sell for $20 to help donate to the cause. Kelda?
Thanks so much for that, Dale. Meteorologist Nick Cernkovich joins us now with a first check on your forecast. And Nick, no complaints about the temperatures today?
Yeah, definitely mild, Kelda. Today we had temperatures peaking at 7 degrees, believe it or not, and that's about 9 degrees above the seasonal mark. Here's what the temperature trend looked like from last night about this hour. Temperatures held steady around 0 degrees for the morning commute, and then up to 7 by the time we hit 2 p.m. this afternoon. Now, the warm weather isn't leaving us just yet. In fact, we've got mild weather right through the rest of the week, but we are tracking a storm system that's headed toward the GTA. Starting with tomorrow, we've got cloud cover clearing out, the risk for a few morning flurries, but that's really about it. Then lots in the way of sunshine through tomorrow afternoon, but Thursday morning and Thursday afternoon, big storm system headed our way. This one is going to bring with it a fair deal of rainfall and also some pretty gusty winds as well. For now, though, some nice mild conditions for tomorrow. 4 degrees through the afternoon, -1, and a few flurries through the overnight. But again, this big storm system headed our way. I'll tell you all about it coming up in just a bit.
See you in a bit. Thanks so much, Nick. Canada is sending $10 million in initial relief funding to Syria and Turkey after yesterday's powerful earthquakes. The number of dead has now risen to 7,700 and is expected to climb. Meantime, international search and rescue teams are flooding into affected areas to help. Earlier today in Aleppo, Syrian rescuers freed a child trapped between slabs of concrete.
على راسك من ورا على راسك ساعدني على راسك يا هارون ساعدني يلا يلا هارون يلا يلا ساعدني لا تسحب راسك ساعدني يلا طول بالك لا تسيب حد
Teams are in a desperate search to find survivors, digging through debris in the extreme cold, sometimes with their bare hands. More than 8,000 people have been rescued from the rubble in Turkey alone. Tens of thousands of people are injured, and about 380,000 have taken refuge in shelters or hotels. In Syria, more than 1,800 people are dead and thousands hurt. The destruction stretches hundreds of kilometers across the two countries. Here in the GTA, those with missing loved ones in the region are still holding on to hope they will be found alive as efforts to fundraise and send aid to the affected areas continues. But as Talia Ricci reports, there's growing concern in the local Syrian community that the war-torn country will get left behind.
Spiro Abdelnour is working a regular shift at his Toronto restaurant, but he admits his mind is back in Syria.
To be honest, I don't like to work because I feel very sad. Watch TV, we see the news, we follow every single minute what's happened there.
For Syrians living here, as more time passes without hearing from friends and family, their hope wanes.
And there is a lot of friends, we don't know about them. There is a lot of family, they also, some of them alive, some of them are, we don't know till now what's happened.
The situation is very bad. But a lot of people, they are still under crashed buildings. They need like some equipment to help them, and there is no time, we have to take action right away.
Across the GTA, organizations are mobilizing to collect and ship supplies to the regions devastated by Monday's earthquake. But those with ties to Syria worry the response to the country will fall short. Even before the earthquake, there was a lack of resources and international support.
Since we are the only team that works as a civil defense, so our operations focused on search and rescue is working around the clock. The level of this earthquake, it's really beyond our capacity and needs the support of countries, not only organizations.
Thousands of families are still under the rubble. They don't have the right equipment. Many of these people from Mulham team, the organization that we're part of, also mentioned that they didn't even have rope to help families. They're just literally using their hands to rescue them.
Mara Kobe with the Syrian Canadian Foundation and the Mulham team says the groups are advocating for people to support grassroots organizations.
We're trying to raise funds to be able to hopefully get the right equipment, resources, food, water, and shelter, and tents for these families now.
They are outside, searching for shelters just to protect themselves. And, like it's winter for them, it's very cold, like outside.
Back at his restaurant, Spiro says he's been collecting donations. Praying and spending time with his family are helping him get through these difficult days.
This is a most part of my life which is destroyed with my city because we feel pain.
Talia Ricci, CBC News.
5 years since Matthew Stakos was gunned down while walking through Yorkville. Tonight, his family is once again offering a reward to help solve the case.
On behalf of the Stakos family, their offer of a private family-funded reward of $250,000 for information leading to the arrest of the person or persons responsible for the murder of their son, Matthew.
The 37-year-old Stakos had just had dinner with a colleague on the evening of May 28, 2018, and they were walking in the Bay and Yorkville Avenue area around 11:30 that night. As they passed a silver Mercedes that was parked on the street, a male got out of the vehicle, approaching Stakos from behind and shooting him ambush style. The suspect jumped back in the Mercedes and then sped off. Stakos' brother spoke today about how difficult the loss has been for the family.
I didn't expect to be here today. We expected that we would have answers certainly well before now, and it's very disappointing that that we don't have closure. It's been very difficult for us. It's something that just doesn't go away in our lives.
We also heard today from a Toronto police homicide detective who says investigators still don't have a motive in the killing. They're also not 100% certain Stakos was the intended target. Anyone with information that can help solve the case is asked to contact Crime Stoppers. Toronto City Council has voted overwhelmingly to study new taxes and fees as a way to address its mounting fiscal challenges. But don't reach for your wallet just yet. City staff will first produce a report on the new revenue streams by the summer. Alice Chiasson has more.
Toronto needs money to the tune of $1.5 billion to make up for the city's spending gap, a problem made worse by the pandemic. It could cut city services to make up the difference, or look for other ways to make money. And what could that mean, Councillor Stephen Holiday?
Hang on to your wallets.
Well, it's more nuanced than that. Today, City Council approved a motion that will have staff examine a series of revenue tools to look at the amount of money they could raise, aka taxes.
A parking levy, a vacant storefront tax, motor vehicle registration tax, alcoholic beverage tax, tobacco tax, entertainment and amusement tax. Those are just a few.
But Mayor John Tory says his motive with this motion is really to start a conversation for a new fiscal framework for Toronto, expecting that this report will only prove that the city can't just tax their way out of its money problems.
Then we'll have a platform in which to even better advocate for the remainder that will come from and should come from other governments.
We heard the mayor say that by clearing the decks on this, making the case for what we can and cannot do, we take that argument off the table for the larger conversation. And the larger conversation is a renewed financial relationship with the City of Toronto and the other orders of government.
Mayor John Tory and Councillor Gord Parks are actually in agreement on this issue. There was a large consensus on the motion. It passed 25-1.
I can't treat the citizens of the city like walking ATMs.
Only Councillor Stephen Holiday voted against it. With a proposed property tax increase of 7% already in the budget, he doesn't like the idea of looking into more ways to tax citizens. Councillor Alejandra Bravo says, actually, this has been a long time coming.
When the City of Toronto was amalgamated,
There was a downloading of some of the most expensive items. For example, housing. That's a huge responsibility. It never came with the funding it required. I think about the TTC itself. It's the only transit system in North America that isn't funded by any senior order of government. In a very rich city, we're the most unequal city in Canada, and that's got to count for something.
City staff will now look at their tax options and report back by the summer. Ali Chiasson, CBC News, Toronto.
And you are looking at a live shot of the Toronto skyline. It was mainly clear tonight after a mild day. Currently, it is 3 degrees in the city. We'll check back with Nick for a look at your extended forecast after the break. Let's go back to Nick now with a look at your extended forecast. And Nick, you mentioned a storm system will be making its way in later in the week, bringing quite a bit of rainfall.
Yeah, this is going to be, although it is technically a winter storm, it's going to feel more like a spring storm. It's going to be rainy and windy for the GTA, and that actually shows up in our forecast here. Weather headlines, sunshine, of course, for tomorrow, but then we've got the rain, and we've also got the windy weather as we head into Thursday as well. Let's get right into it. Here's a look at the forecast board. For tonight, we're looking at cloud cover clearing out, the risk of a few flurries through the overnight and the early morning commute. By the time we hit the mid-morning into the afternoon, we've got sunshine across the board, and that lasts into tomorrow evening. However, in behind it, we've got this storm system that's headed our way, and it starts on Thursday morning earlier down around the Windsor area and then around the morning commute for the GTA. Now, this could be led by some patchy freezing rain or maybe a few wet flurries, but quickly changes over along this warm front to rainfall. And we're looking at a fair deal of rain with this system. Quick shot, though. By the afternoon, it tapers off, and then in behind it, we've got cooler weather moving in and some very gusty winds as well. Wind gusts could be upwards to about 90 kilometers per hour. There are special weather statements in effect across the region for 15 to 25 millimeters of rain and wind gusts 70 to 90 kilometers per hour. Wouldn't be surprised to see some wind warnings being issued as we get a little bit closer. In terms of the rainfall accumulations, generally speaking, about 20 millimeters of rain, certainly for the GTA, and that's pretty much what it looks like right across southern Ontario. Back to tonight, though. Fairly mild conditions, temperatures at -1 for the overnight low for the GTA. This is above the seasonal mark for this time of year. Heading into tomorrow, still looking at above seasonal temperatures at 5 degrees. Thursday, though, that's the one to watch. We hit 7 degrees again, maybe even 8 in some parts of the city. About 20 millimeters of rain in the forecast. Gusty winds, 80-plus kilometers per hour. Might see some wind warnings in there. Tapers off on Friday. Bit of a cool down, but still above seasonal right through our 5-day forecast. Kelda.
Thanks so much, Nick. And that is our show for you tonight. Thank you so much for watching. Marivelle Tarouk has your next local newscast tomorrow at 6. I will see you back here tomorrow night at 11. Have a great night, everyone.